Dr. Kath of Clinic Alchemy, and today we're going to be talking about 6 key areas you need to focus on to effectively grow your private practice. As doctors in private practice, we're really time pressured. You want to know where to best spend your time and effort. So rather than reinventing the wheel, I want you to think about 6 key areas when you're marketing your practice. Number 1, actually commit to marketing your practice and get a strategy for it. This means a daily practice. Now, when we're starting out in private practice, we figure that marketing sounds a little bit cheesy. It's a little bit advertising, isn't it? Paying money, isn't it? Sort of sleazy sales stuff. Absolutely not. Effective marketing means producing really good educational content that patients find you writing about online. Many people say to me, not really quite sure, wouldn't I be best off just being heard about by word of mouth? To me, word of mouth basically means I can't be asked to market my practice. And the second mistake that people make is that sometimes they go about this in a really ad hoc sort of way. So they do a little bit of tweeting, a little bit of social media, they declare nothing's working and they give up. I'm telling you that the clinicians I coach who are really caning it in private practice commit half an hour every day to purposefully marketing their practice. And if you do that, you'll be successful too. Number 2 is get a professionally made website. You're a professional, you want to come across as professional, and there's no point hashing around trying to develop something of your own. Many doctors say to me, Kath, websites are expensive. Isn't it enough that I'm just out there on an HCA or a BMI or a Nuffield website? The answer is no. And basically this is because you're going to be lost amongst all those other clinicians who are out there. You need to be found by patients. Patients are online researchers. Did you know that 70% of patients have made up their mind about you before they even get in touch with you? And the way that they do that is through your website on the whole. If you get a professionally made website done, people can read about your niche area, it kind of resonates with their problem, and a great website will also allow patients to emotionally connect with you, which is really important. Put yourself in the patient's shoes. You want to know that the person you're going to see is a nice, warm, kind-hearted human being who's going to help them solve their problems, and a good website will enable you to portray yourself in that manner. Number 3, get started with making video. If you want to get light years ahead of your clinical competitors, the first thing you should do is start making video. I'm sure you've heard about blogging, but actually vlogging is very, very powerful. The stats behind video are absolutely crazy. 80% of content that's consumed online is in the form of video. And did you know that video that's on social media is 1,200% more likely to be shared? That's bonkers. Another crazy fact is that patients are 9 times more likely to recall what you've said if you said it in a video as opposed to them reading it in the written word. So video is a great way to get across your personality. It's a great way to get people to convert from people who are just browsing around on your website to actually becoming patients who book in to see you. Tip number 4, effectively connect with potential referrers and don't forget to follow up. When you start out in private practice, you might join one of those big hospitals, and chances are there'll be a consult liaison officer who will say to you, why don't you put on a talk for some GPs? I'm not going to encourage you to turn that down, but basically connecting with GPs on the whole is a bit of a waste of time. That might come across as a bit of a shock to you, but the reality is that these days private practice GPs tend to be the rubber stampers for what the patient wants. So as well as connecting with patients, you also need to connect with people who are potentially going to refer to you. And this means you should be looking at meeting up with people who are allied to your profession. So rather than meeting with the same people in your clinical niche who are never going to refer to you, think about other people who you could cross-refer with. Now, the obvious example is if you're an orthopedic consultant, you're probably going to want to meet with physios and osteos. But maybe if you're a rheumatologist, you could buddy up with a dermatologist because you're quite likely to have some hot joint patients. If you work in pain, you might want to consult with some gynae people because you're going to have some cross referrals there. So think about who you could meet with who is in your similar clinical field, but not actually within your specialism, if that makes sense. Make the effort to go meet them. Connect with them on LinkedIn or Twitter. Go and meet them. Talk with them, and really crucially, follow up with them. So what I mean by that is after you've had this very nice interaction, you think you're both the best thing since sliced bread, chances are you'll forget about each other in a few days' time. You'll think, who is that really nice person I met? So you're far better off literally putting in the diary a date for you to reconnect with them again via email, pick up the phone, have a little chat again, reform that relationship. And that way, when they've got a patient who needs your help, you'll be the first person that they think of. Tip number 5, start and nurture an email list. Let me be really clear here. I'm not talking about a list of emails of patients that you've seen. In other words, they're sort of clinical emails, as it were. I'm talking about a list of people who follow you, who've purposely signed up to receiving your great content. You might be wondering, what's the point in doing all that? Especially post GDPR, when some of us had email lists and we threw out half the people because they didn't re-opt in again. Well, here's the thing. Even though there are some wonderful social media platforms out there, unfortunately, the vast majority of them seriously limit the number of people that your stuff gets shown to. Did you know that if you post something on Facebook, you've got about a 2% chance amongst your followers of it being seen? Which is staggering, isn't it? In other words, 98% of people who are on your list aren't seeing that. But imagine if you had an email list and you sent out that great article, 100% of them, provided it doesn't end up in their spam, are going to receive your email. Now, every single time I've sent out an email campaign, I've always got the benefit of it. So for example, this time of year, it's marathon season, I'll be sending out a series of articles about stress fractures, and I can guarantee that patients will come out of the woodwork and book in to see me simply because I jog their memory about me being the go-to person if you've got a hip stress fracture. Email lists can be totally GDPR legit. You may already be working with some of these tools such as MailChimp. I personally like ConvertKit. But it's a fantastic way of re-interacting with people because chances are a patient's going to have a problem again in the future. And it doesn't just have to be patients who sign up to your list. You may have interesting parties, people who are going to cross-refer with you as well. So start an email list, and in future videos we're going to be talking about ways you can encourage people to sign up to that. Number 6. Focus on where your social media people really are. As doctors, probably one of the key sites that we need to be on right now is LinkedIn. Now, you might be working in a field that is very visual, for example, aesthetic medicine, in which case sites such as Instagram and Facebook could be allied to you. But you actually have to think about who your patients and referrers are. So if you're a cardiologist and you work with stress city types, your people are going to be on LinkedIn. But maybe if you're a gynecologist and you work with postnatal mums, they may be found in some Facebook groups. So think about where your people are. It's really important you don't make the mistake of throwing advertising money at social media sites or even Google AdWords when you don't actually yet know what converts well. In other words, what I'm saying is that when you've found something good that writes about, that pulls people in, and you can really prove that those patients are booking in to see you, then it's worth putting some money behind it. But don't make the mistake of throwing out money into the universe when you're not really sure how it benefits you. And finally, I'm going to throw in a number 7. And number 7 is start collecting patient testimonials. Patient testimonials are hugely powerful and very, very important. They're the kind of online version of word of mouth referrals. So whether you use a platform like Doctify to actually get some people plugging in a very nice thing they've seen you about, or that you're leaving them a Google link so they can leave you a nice review on Google Me Business, you need to start collecting them, so be purposeful about that. I'm Dr. Kath at Clinic Alchemy. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. We'd love to hear from you, so leave some comments in the box below.